Billy the Kid Irwin takes aim. This is the next step on the road to a world title shot. A win is a must for both. A loss, devastating. Live from the International Plaza Hotel and Conference Center, TSN is proud to present Commonwealth Championship Boxing. Hi, everybody, and welcome to TSN's continuing coverage of world-class boxing. I'm Darren Detition. We're glad you joined us for tonight's card. We think that we have an exceptional main event for you. But before we get to the featured fight, you got to go back in time 3 years ago to 1993. In the West African country of Ghana, a young professional made his debut. His name was David Teta. Just a couple of months later, a young Canadian made his pro debut. His name, Billy Irwin. Little did we know at that point in time that those two fighters were on a collision course, and yes, they will collide tonight. For their thoughts on the main event, let's go ringside. Here is Mike Hogan and Stephen Brunt.
Thank you very much, Darren and Stephen Brunt. We've just seen a couple of tremendous undercards. The Chris Johnson fight just wrapping up. But tonight we're looking forward to the Billy Irwin fight, something we've been waiting for a long time. Here's the kid finally with a shot at a Commonwealth title.
It's a fight we've been looking forward to for a long time. I think Billy Irwin's been looking forward to for a long time, at least since April when this fight was originally scheduled. And it really, I think, a real test for Billy Irwin, a watershed moment in his career. That's certainly the best opponent he's faced.
Let's take a look at David Teta now, the man they call Little Tyson for obvious reasons. He throws a lot of punches. He throws a lot of big punches. What does he have to do to beat the kid tonight?
Well, I think the only way that David Teta wins this fight, or that David Teta wins fights, is to stand there and punch and knock people out, really. That's his game. He's a bit wild, he's a bit raw, but he can punch and he's strong. And we also know that he takes a good shot, that he's durable. So if you put that up against Billy Irwin's own natural power, that's a pretty good matchup.
Momentarily, we'll be seeing Eric Lukoff fight, who's had 2 world championship fights in the last year. What are your thoughts on him?
Well, Eric Lukoff's he's been in with some great people. He went 11 rounds with Roy Jones Jr. He was in with Fabrice Tiazzo for the light heavyweight title. Didn't win either of those fights, but showed a lot of toughness, a lot of durability. And according to his manager, Yvon Michel, he's once again on the verge of a big fight, so this is a big night for him.
And if you go and you can take 11 rounds of punishment from Roy Jones Jr., you've been hit by the best on the planet.
Well, that's it. You know, Roy Jones, best fighter in the world right now, and a lot of people were shocked that Eric Lukoff could go that far and do as well as he did.
For more on tonight's fight and for a chat with the champion, Billy Irwin, the Canadian lightweight champion, now got a shot at the Commonwealth title. Let's rejoin Darren Detition.
Thanks very much, gentlemen. Billy Irwin enters this fight with a professional record of 19-0. He has yet to suffer a loss. 13 of his victories have come via the knockout. David Teta enters the fight with an unblemished record as well. He's 15-0. 13 of his wins have come via the knockout. Now, David Teta does not speak a lick of English, so I talked to his manager this afternoon, Freddie Annan, and asked him, what do you know about your opponent this evening?
We just seen the film of Billy when he went 12 rounds with the Argentinian, and he looks good. He looks a good puncher and very strong, and I think it's a good prospect for the future.
I want to smother his punches. He needs leverage on his punches to catch you. He doesn't seem to be very good on the inside. He needs room where I don't need much room to hurt my opponents. So I'm going to try to smother his punches and negate his wide left hook by moving counterclockwise. So he's going to feel a need to throw a left hook to stop me from moving. And when he does that, I'm going to try to counter and go to the body and throw my own left hooks. But at the same time, keep my hands up and be cautious, bobbing and weaving, and that's my initial game plan. And if things don't work out, or if he hits too hard, or if he catches me, I have good legs, I can box, I have good boxing ability. I'll try to do whatever it takes. I have to win the fight, so whatever it takes to win.
This is a huge fight for both gentlemen. They both got power. They both like to go to war. Most of the pundits are predicting this one's not going to last 5 rounds. We're expecting an outstanding evening of boxing. As I mentioned off the top, we're extremely glad that you joined us tonight. We'll take a short break. There's still more boxing to come here on TSN. TSN's coverage of Commonwealth Championship Boxing is brought to you in part by Canadian Airlines, the way you want to fly. Forbes Hewlett Transport, an exceptional trucking service at very competitive prices. Light Driver, the new all-in-one lighted screwdriver from Bossman. and by Molson Canadian.
Blocks of time passing by, biographies of unforgettable characteristics and stones bouncing off a backbone buried deep in your own backyard. Why? Because I
early every year, as it has since the time of our ancestors. And up here, we know how to stay warm and dry. We wear these sorrel boots. They've been making them by hand for 86 years. Rugged, waterproof, good to 100 below. They last for years. This is good when you're as young as I. As we say in our language, ayeta ege, be warm and dry.
Slick 50 engine treatment with Teflon. Can it reduce wear on your engine? Yes. Here's proof. In the Great Slick 50 Torture Test, a professional driver drove the Slick 50 treated car nearly 20 kilometers with no oil. And here's more proof. Slick 50 is the only engine protection with test results published by the Society of Automotive Engineers, the recognized automotive authority. Reduce wear in your engine with Slick 50 engine treatment with Teflon. Get Slick 50 at Canadian Tire, Kmart, Sears Automotive, Home Hardware.
Plaza Hotel and Conference Center in Toronto, Ontario. Our next event for you is Eric Luca coming up against Richard Frazier. It's really an electric crowd here so far this evening. Everybody in anticipation of the Billy Irwin fight, but this is a good matchup as well. Let's go to our ring announcer, Dan Carter.
We would like to welcome our viewers who are watching on TSN all across Canada. Our next contest is a 10-round bout in the light heavyweight division and is brought to you by Light Driver. Introducing in the blue corner, he comes to us from the Big Apple, New York City, weighing in this morning at 180 pounds. His professional record is 12 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw with 4 knockouts. Richard Frazier. And in the red corner, his opponent weighing in this morning at 177 pounds and hailing from Montreal, Canada. His record of professional fights is 19 wins, 2 draws with 3 losses and 5 KOs. Eric Luca. The referee for this match is Dave Dunbar. Good luck.
And Eric Luca, Stephen Brunt, you have seen 3 of his last 4 fights, 2 for world championships, including the Roy Jones Jr. fight. Roy Jones had played a basketball game earlier that day and then took on Eric Luca, but nonetheless, Luca won 11 rounds with, I think unarguably, sorry, Pernell Whitaker and Oscar De La Hoya, but the best pound-for-pound boxer in the world right now.
Yeah, I certainly won't argue with that. Roy Jones Jr. is the best fighter in the world right now, and I think, look, most people going into that fight thought the over-under was about 30 seconds. And Eric Luca surprised everyone. He's a very durable guy. He's not as spectacular spectacular puncher by any means, and he's not, spectacularly fast or anything like that, but he's very durable. He hangs in there and he throws punches.
Richard Frazier from New York City has fought as a cruiserweight before. He comes down in weight to fight Eric Lucan tonight with Yvon Michel, his manager, a well-known boxer in the amateur circles, and the head coach of Canada's national team at the 1996 Atlanta Olympics.
And Richard Frazier, an interesting story. He's a policeman, turned to boxing. He's 37 years old. Not that that's old or anything, but turned to boxing
that's old.
at the ripe old age of 32. And his last fight was a spectacular win for him, knocking out Anthony Hemrick, ending Anthony Hemrick's career.
Eric Lucan, not known for having knockout power, not a bad boxer, certainly not known for getting knocked out either. 19-3-2, and this is a man who can last against some of the best the planet has to offer.
Now this is the first time as a pro that Eric Lucan's seen a southpaw, so we'll have to see how he reacts to that.
Frazier, 37 years old. Robert Beckles is his manager and trainer. 12-2-1 so far at this early juncture of his, late blossoming career.
I say his big win was the win over Hemrick, and that vaulted him all the way to number 9 in the WBC rating, so he took Hemrick's place.
Eric Lucan from Montreal, Quebec. Abe Perman also in the corner. He is the trainer. Bob Miller, the cut man tonight. Abe Perman, just a fixture on the Quebec boxing scene.
Yeah, both he and Yvon Michel also work with Stéphane Ouellet, who is probably the number 1 boxing star in the province of Quebec right now.
Not a lot of action so far tonight as both boxers trying to establish something early, sort of scouting their opponent to this point. Lucan, very easy to scout because his name very largely displayed on his trunks, the white trunks with the black trim. Richard Frazier, one of New York's finest outside the ring. We'll see if he is one of New York's finest inside the ring this evening. By the way, that is a job I would not take for any amount of money on the planet.
After watching the Yankees, seeing who you have to deal with, I think that's absolutely true. It's a big fight for Lucan because he was coming off the loss to Roy Jones, but apparently big things on the horizon for him still as a result of that performance. That's what Yvon Michel was saying before this fight, that if he gets through this, there's another big fight on the horizon for him.
We'll see if Richard Frazier has a 12-year-old kid in his corner, much like the Yankees needed one the other night at the stadium. Two big men, both taking a look at each other, looking for some sort of opening. The hands held high by both one of these gentlemen. 50 seconds remain here as we take a look at the scoreboard. Round number 1 of the scheduled 10 rounds tonight here at the International Plaza Hotel and Conference Center near Pearson International Airport in Toronto. What does Lucan have to do differently tonight than he did against Tiazzo and Jones, aside from survive?
Well, I think he's got to generate more offense, and which was the problem in those fights. He's also got to deal with the southpaw. He's got to keep his foot out, his left foot outside of Frazier's right foot. The right lead is a good punch against the southpaw, and that's something he's going to try and do. But I think he's really got to generate some offense. Those fights, he was far more an opponent. He was far more the catcher than he was throwing.
So the first round has been a feeling out round, and we will see more action as we get back with this Lucan Frazier decision right here on TSN.
McCain Pizza Pockets are ready. Are you ready for a chance to win one of 100 Sony PlayStations, the world's hottest video game system, equipped with the awesome new action game Crash Bandicoot, or one of 500 Oasis CDs? Every time you buy your favorite tasting McCain Pizza Pockets with this special flash on the pack, check inside to see if you've won. It's your chance to win a Sony PlayStation with Crash Bandicoot or an Oasis CD. McCain Pizza Pockets are ready. Are you?
Whoa. If loving something is meaning that you never take your skates off, I was in love with the game.
Over the blue line.
Hockey was a way of life.
The game was just who could keep the puck the longest,
When it's 45 below zero, we called them road apples.
Heroes for a day, legends forever. These are the Legends of Hockey, a 5-part series this fall on TSN.
Welcome back to the International Plaza Hotel and Conference Center in Toronto. I'm Mike Hogan along with Stephen Brunn. It's round 2 of a scheduled 10 between Eric Lucan and Richard Frazier. Frazier in the black trunks, Lucan in the white trunks. Lucan is from Montreal, Quebec. And who did you give round number 1 to, Stephen?
Mike, even rounds are the worst cop-out. You should never score them, but I'll be damned if I can figure out who won that first round. I thought it was dead even.
I'm going to make it a mandatory 10-point must. You've got to give it to somebody.
I'll give that to Eric Lucan, just out of pure nationalism.
The hometown decision open and blatantly honest about it.
I'm upfront about it.
Stephen Brunt, columnist and boxing writer for the Globe and Mail, Canada's national daily newspaper. What did you see in the Tiazzo fight that you could see Luka build on at all as a professional? Did you see anything there that he took into the fight after that?
Well, I think what he was fighting a bigger, stronger guy, and he showed a lot of toughness, a lot of grit. I think what he has trouble with is getting out of first gear sometimes. And you'll see that he tends to fight the same round 10 times or 12 times in a row, and that is a problem. I have very rarely seen him take it up in any of the fights that I've watched him.
We had the corner mic between rounds of Eric Luka while we were away on commercial. Unfortunately, my French is limited to deux bières froid, and that's about it. So I have no idea what they were telling him in the corner.
Richard Frazier's working with that right jab, trying to set up the straight left hand. That looks like that's his power punch.
That'll be difficult for Luka, fighting a southpaw for the first time in his professional career. You've got to do everything backwards, from protecting yourself against the jab to sort of looking out for that lower punch coming up from the left side. It's very, very awkward, and at least Frazier's maybe making it easier by moving in a clockwise fashion.
It can be very tough. I remember seeing Billy Irwin fight his first southpaw, Gary Rodriguez, as a pro, and it was a very, very tough fight for him, just because of style. Frazier's starting to get that left handle in a little bit there.
As Donald S. Cherry, the great coach, would say, left-handers should have their own division. Very difficult to find a left-hander, but so far so good for Luka, who's not giving anything away to his older but less experienced opponent. That's got to be a little bit intimidating for Frazier, too, knowing that he's fighting a guy who won 11 rounds with the great Roy Jones Jr.
Well, Frazier's an interesting character. He had a very long amateur career, quite a distinguished amateur career, and just had a real life, and it was just very late in life he decided he wanted to do this for a living.
Then again, I'm going to take that back. It's impossible to intimidate a New York cop.
Frazier's starting to get in a little bit of a rhythm here, though. His jabs, Luka's coming up short on all his combinations, and Frazier's jab's getting in a little bit.
Conclusion of round number 2 comes up, and as both fighters finally start to exchange some blows toward the end of that round, a much more entertaining round toward the end. Who do you give that to, Mr. Judge?
I thought Richard Frazier won that round. I think his stuff, I think Luka was short with virtually everything he threw, and Frazier started to find a little bit of a home for the jab and a little bit of home for the left hand behind it.
The main event will follow this fight, and it is a Commonwealth Championship fight. There's Billy Irwin having his hand taped by his trainer, Patrick Connaughton. Earlier in Billy's career, he had some problems with his hand. Patrick Connaughton came over, started taping the hand differently. The hand problems have gone away. As soon as the hand problem cleared up, he had problems with his eyes. For the first time in a couple of fights, we're seeing Billy Irwin come in at completely 100% health.
I think, 100% health and as focused as you're ever going to see him. He's very aware of his career path. He understands what this fight means. Billy Irwin's very aware of the boxing world at large as well as his career, and I think he knows that this is his breakthrough fight.
The news conference to promote this fight was held on Tuesday, and I talked to Billy at that fight, and Billy's usually an easygoing, whatever you guys want sort of character. But Billy was asked to take a picture with David Teta before the fight. He said no, so I don't want anything to do with him. So he is very, very focused heading into this lightweight Commonwealth Championship fight, which is coming up in about 45 minutes here on TSN. But first we have Eric Luka versus Richard Frazier, the 37-year-old New York policeman who looked a lot better in round number 2 than Eric Luka did.
Luka just hasn't found a way to get in yet. Everything's coming up short. Frazier fights a little bit better from the outside. Luka's going to have to close the distance and work inside here, and he's having a hard time doing it against the southpaw.
He's very good defensively, but is one of the least busy fighters that you will see on a professional rank. He just seems to get it done and just barely being able to get it done. Not knockout power. Will block almost everything that Frazier will throw his way, but he's got to get more active in the ring if he's ever going to do anything.
Well, he can be frustrating to watch because you think, just take it up a notch. Now's the time. You have an opportunity, especially in the big fights, and he just hasn't been able to do that. And against Roy Jones, he hung in there, and he did, in a fight that no one expected him to win, certainly. But in fights that maybe he should have had a chance to win, against Brian Brannon, for instance, even against Tiazzo, he just didn't seem to have the next gear.
That's an amazing feat when you think about it, though. Roy Jones Jr., even though he's not fighting one of the top 10 in the world in Luka, the man played a Continental Basketball Association game in the afternoon afternoon, then that night got into a world championship fight and still went out. And it took him 11 rounds, but he had to be tired, and the legs especially had to be weak going into that fight.
Well, there were a couple of reasons Roy Jones wasn't right that night. One, I think, was because he played basketball. The other one was just before that fight, his protege, Derek Gaynor, got knocked cold by Kelvin Kelly, and I think that affected him as well.
We just saw a right hand by Richard Frazier that scored against Eric Luka.
Richard Frazier's doing all the scoring here that I've seen.
It was a low blow by Luka that did not land. Luckily, Frazier did not like the fact that that was heading in the direction it was. Gave the eye to Eric Luka, and they did touch gloves at the end of that exchange. There's a right hand, finally. Didn't quite sit down on it. He didn't get his feet down on the ground before he was able to land the punch. So nothing behind that right hand by Eric Luka.
Came up a bit short.
Both very patient fighters.
I think Frazier would be content just to sit there and pick away with the jab and throw the left hand, and Luka's letting him do it.
Luka in the white trunks, Frazier in the black trunks. Neither one of them are giving away much, let's put it that way. If they have a strategy and are looking for an opening, as you look at the very studious eyes right now of Richard Frazier, he's eyeing and looking for an opening. Luka comes back with a flurry at the end as we close out round number 3. It's a Schedule 10, and we'll conclude the fight here on TSN after this.
What do you call a band that sold millions of albums, toured the world, but just played a sweaty little club in Calgary? The Smashing Pumpkins. Wanna go for a ride? The Molson Canadian Rock's Blind Date. Enter the unknown.
Empty, just like me.
Keep your car in great shape. STP Shape. An STP fuel injector cleaner helps keep it that way. It's easy. Just add it to your car's gas and drive your fuel injectors clean. Clean them too. STP Shape. With STP Fuel Injector Cleaner. It's easy to keep your car looking great with STP Son of a Gun Protectant.
Shine, protect, keep your car looking great. Son of a gun helps keep your car in STP shape.
Son of a gun.
Welcome back to round number 4. It's a Schedule 10 rounder. My name is Mike Hogan, along with Stephen Brunt of the Globe and Mail. You are watching the undercard of the Billy Irwin David Teta Commonwealth Lightweight Championship fight. Round 3, another close round, Stephen. Where did you give that one?
Well, I thought Frazier won that round reasonably comfortably. Again, just because Luka's not landing anything. He's having a real tough time with the southpaw style, having a very hard time getting his punches, closing the distance and landing punches.
We've talked about some of the opponents that Eric Luka has had. How about Richard Frazier? He fought one notable opponent in Anthony Hembrook.
Yeah, and Anthony, he fought him twice, and lost a decision to Anthony Hembrook. Anthony Hembrook, a world-rated light heavyweight, it was 175, 180 in that range. Lost a decision to him, and then again in June of this year, knocked out Anthony Hembrook. A fight that Anthony Hembrook was winning, and then just sort of stopped fighting all of a sudden. Frazier came on, knocked him out, and Hembrook retired after that. Actually failed the brain scan after that, and was retired after that.
Oddly enough, that the last fight against Anthony Hembrook, the only fight so far that Richard Frazier has had so far in 1996.
The other win on his record is over Tyrone Frazier, one of those Philadelphia Fraziers. I can't remember if he's actually one of Joe Frazier's kids or not, but again, against a pretty durable guy, won a decision from Tyrone Frazier.
That went 10 rounds, certainly a lot longer than, let's say, Marvis Frazier won against Mike Tyson. What was that, 90 seconds?
Very quick.
Frazier now seems to be getting a little bit more confident, almost a smile on his face there, but back to the studious look as he takes on Eric Luka from Montreal. 2 world championship fights. Roy Jones Jr., 12 rounds. Fabrice Tiazzo, 12 rounds. 1 for the WBC belt, 1 for the IBF belt. Both of them going the distance.
Because Luka is so straight up and so conventional, he just doesn't seem to be able to handle this, to adapt to the southpaw style.
Almost the distance, shall we say, in the Jones fight. He did get to the 12th and final round, but Jones did come up with a technical knockout. There's a good combination as Luka was able to work the body and then come up with the right hand to the face of Frazier. But Frazier comes back aggressively across the ring, but Luka sat down on a counter punch. Finally, we're getting a little bit of activity here in round number 4.
But count how many of Luka's punches land on the shoulders, or the arms, or the elbows. That's the sign of him having trouble with the southpaw style.
There's a left that landed. The right didn't do much, but a good counter punch by Frazier to get off the ropes as Luka goes back into the middle of the ring. Not too much activity against the ropes so far, Steve.
No, not very. This fight's going to be fought in the middle of the ring. That's certainly Luka's style, and that looks like where Frazier's comfortable.
Tries to work the body there, does Luka, who weighed in today at 175 pounds, giving away 3 pounds to Richard Frazier. Although, just looking at them, it looks like Luka is a bigger fighter. Round number 4 comes to a conclusion. It is a scheduled 10. Your thoughts on round 4? Finally, we got a little bit of a flurry there.
Well, I think Luka finally got a little more aggressive. And anyway, it wasn't particularly effective aggression, I don't think. I don't think he landed much of anything. And I think, again, Frazier just picking away, scoring points, and winning the rounds.
Let's take a listen to what they're saying in the corner. How's your French? Would that be a non-existent as you give me that hideous smile?
Not good enough for that.
Yvon Michel is the manager of Luka. Abe Pervin. How well is your relationship with Abe? You spent some time with him in Jonquière at an earlier Billy Irwin fight.
I did, and he's kind of the old sage of Quebec boxing. He's been around for a long time. He's kind of the old wise man, the Eddie Futch of Quebec, or the Angelo Dundee, whatever you like.
Round number 5, round number 4 went in which direction, Mr. Scorekeeper?
I think Mr. Frazier won that round as well. I think, again, very similar to the round before. Luka got a little more aggressive, but he just is not able to land against the southpaw. And there, you can see that left hand starting to find a bit of a home. Luka puffing up a bit around the right eye from where it's landing.
Frazier getting very quick with that left, and not only getting there with the speed, but he's able to snap it off right at the end. So that will be an effective punch if he continues to land those. Very, very awkward looking at a left-hander because we don't see that many.
And again, I think it's particularly awkward for someone who is as rigid in his style as Luka is. You don't get many different looks from Eric Luka. There's pretty much this one, and that's it. I'll tell you something, when he does close the distance, as he does now, he better let his hands go. He can't just stand there and look at him.
Every time he seems to go in toward the body and try to score on Frazier, it's when he's ducking down, he's moving that right leg forward, sitting down on the punch and trying to get in there, but he's dropping his hands way down. Frazier can throw a relatively quick counter punch to the head. Luka might be in trouble, although Luka has been known to be able to take a punch.
You see again, Luka's that sequence there, the punches are all landing on chest, shoulders. None of those landed. Now Frazier's not the most active fighter in the world either. There's a pretty good straight left.
Frazier has his mouth open at this point. We'll see what his stamina is like as Frazier tries to land a left hook. Nowhere close. Frazier in the black trunks from New York City, Eric Luka from Montreal, Quebec. Much slower pace to this fight.
Good right hand by Frazier at the end of that sequence. Luka throwing one at a time.
Luka tried the roundhouse right, went to the liver, nothing on it though. There's that quick snap punch. Nothing much behind that by Frazier, but he does snap it off and it looks very effective.
Now, I think Luka going dip to the body there, didn't quite land, but that's certainly something that might work for him. It's a little bit bigger target, it doesn't move as much, a little easier to hit. Would not be a bad idea for him to dip down.
But whether you're a left-hander or a right-hander, the song remains the same if you're going to work the body. It's good. It's not going to move. From the chest down, it's pretty well set up in the same area. About 20 seconds remain here in round number 5 of a scheduled 10-rounder in Toronto. We will take a timeout. The Billy Irwin fight is to come. We are dealing with Eric Luka from Montreal and Richard Frazier from New York. We'll come back with round number 6 after this timeout on TSN.
Hell is a world where you have no home. And even though I was in heaven, something drew me back to my home. I can't can't put into words the things I've seen, the places I've been, or what it all means. Because it's not so much what you look at, but when you look, what you see. And now I see that my eyes are the eyes of the world. In my eyes, I am.
Clean is my business. So when I'm on the road, Super 8's my motel. Clean carpets, clean seats, clean. Clean inside and out. Life's great at Super 8. Go deep, 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 deep. Don't get any deeper than that.
Oh, my God. Go deep and go interactive as the Eskimos crank it up in the Lions Den. The CFL Live. Catch it on TSN.
Welcome back. Round number 6 of the scheduled 10-rounder. My name is Mike Hogan along with Stephen Brunt, Eric Lukoff from Montreal, Richard Frazier in the Black Trunks from New York, New York. The town so nice they named it twice. Who did you give round number 5 to, Mr. Golden Man?
I thought Mr. Lukoff made it a little closer, but I think Frazier won the round again. I just think Lukoff's not landing effectively. He landed a couple of body shots in that round, but I still think Frazier's landing the better punches.
Okay, we're halfway through the fight then. You've got it to Frazier 4 rounds to 1. What does Lukoff have to do here to get busy and get back into this fight?
Well, I think he's got to press that body attack a little bit, and he's going to solve fighting a southpaw pretty darn quickly.
Still not very busy as we start round number 6.
It kind of raises a managerial question here, which is, Eric Lukoff coming off the loss to Roy Jones with apparently still some big things on his horizon. He's in pretty tough here. A guy who is 9 in the world. Maybe that's not more of a paper rating than anything else, but against a tough southpaw, this is a very tough fight for him.
Good chance to establish himself before the home country fans here on TSN, but not showing much. Now he might be able to do some damage as he didn't cut off the ring and Frazier was able to escape.
Well, he's definitely starting to press the pace a little bit more, but he's still having a terrible time landing.
But as you mentioned, he doesn't have much of an option but to pick up the pace because he's down substantially, at least on your scorecard.
Yeah, I think he is. Now, Frazier, as you see, Frazier's not very busy either. That might be a 37-year-old thing, though. I'm not sure.
How old are you again?
We 37-year-olds stick together. Good body shot by Frazier there. And the right hand landing.
Lukoff tried to start working the body earlier in this round, but as you mentioned, Frazier doing likewise later in this round.
With the lack of pace in this fight, Mike, one flurry like that in the middle of the round lands 4 punches. That's a lot in this fight. That can win a round for you.
Dave Dunbar, the referee tonight, has had it very easy, very clean fight so far. I don't even think he's had to tell these guys to break. Best seat in the house for Dave Dunbar in this contest. Schedule 10. With the age thing here, with Richard Frazier being 37 as a boxer, it would certainly weigh in Lukoff's advantage, you would think, and try and make him work a little bit harder. But right now, Frazier's just able to sit back, work around on the outside, and pick away at Lukoff. Big advantage to Frazier as this fight goes along.
Not to insult Lukoff, but for Frazier right now, this looks like a gym session. He does look like he's just very relaxed, kind of standing in the middle of the ring and firing combinations. Again, there he's landing 3 punches and nothing coming back.
Final 10 seconds now of round number 6. Not a very good round again for Eric Lukoff as Richard Frazier wins yet another round on our scorecard. So Lukoff, man, with 2 world title shots, sits down in the corner between round 6 and 7. Billy the Kid Irwin gets ready for his fight coming up in about a half an hour's time here as he takes on David Teta. And as Darren Detition said off the top of this broadcast, I don't think many people expect this fight to go the distance.
No, I don't think so. I think you've got 2 big-time punchers going head-to-head. 2 guys, both of them undefeated, both of them trying to win, both of them thinking they're going to win. Usually that kind of situation spells a knockout one way or the other.
Patrick Connaughton, the trainer for Billy the Kid Irwin, usually a calm, mild-mannered, very soft-spoken man, at the news conference the other day said, "We're going to win this fight." Very, very confidently. That's very un-Patrick Connaughton-like. Shows a lot of confidence, you would think.
There's a lot at stake for everyone. Everyone involved in Billy Irwin's got a lot on the line tonight.
Billy Irwin, well known in Canada. David Teta, ranked number 9 by the WBC, number 11 by the WBA, and number 12 by the IBF. Not too many boxers have a recognized ranking by all 3 federations of the top 3, but David Teta does. There is doubt here that Eric Lukov is going to steal this fight now because he's substantially behind on our scorecard. He's got to get busy. Richard Frazier is fighting the fight that he wants to do. He's staying on the outside. He's picking away. He is taking everything that Eric Lukov offers him. Lukov is a pretty good defensive fighter, doesn't offer up that much, but when there's something there, Frazier's been able to take advantage of it, going to the head, then working the body, as we just saw there.
The last round and a half or so, Frazier started to land a little more, getting a little more confident. He seems to be very, very relaxed in there. And again, I don't see a solution developing here on Luka's side.
Very, very slow footwork from Lukov as well. He is not a quick boxer. And that is going to be in his detriment as well. He doesn't have the knockout power, only 5 in 24 fights.
Yeah, that is part of the problem here. He doesn't have the great even. He can't just expect to knock out Frazier late in this fight. That's not his game.
Frazier again, you see exactly what he's been able to do the entire fight. He moves in quickly, takes his shots, gets back out on the outside, and not necessarily on the bicycle. I mean, he's up on the balls of his feet, but he's not running a lot, so he's not expending a lot of energy.
Just subtle movement here. Lukov landed one body punch, and then Frazier came back with going up and down the jab, and landed the body himself, and again took that away from Lukov.
Hard to believe that the man in the white trunks went 12 rounds, almost a complete 12 rounds with Roy Jones. Right now it doesn't look like they belong in the same ring, the same division even.
Well, styles make fights, but
that's true, but
that cliche holds true. But in that case, again, Eric Lukov, to be honest, again in those fights, what he showed most of his durability and courage.
Tries to land it right to the body. Frazier says, didn't get there. Good combination. Yep. Pop, pop, pop. That's all it's been taken. That's all he's had to do is Lukov continues to stick to the middle of the ring and not really show much. A lot of experience in the corner of Lukov with Yvon Michel and Abe Corbin. Lobno, the cut man tonight.
I would think they've got to be very, very worried right now. Just, Yvon Michel before the fight certainly wasn't taking this one for granted. They knew they were in tough, but right now they're in very deep trouble in this fight.
Richard Frazier is managed and trained by Robert Beckles, and Robert's got to be very happy with what his challenge has done tonight.
I think Frazier's fought a very, very good fight.
Dozen seconds here in round number 7 to schedule 10. We'll take a timeout. The Irwin fight to come. We'll come back with the final couple of rounds of Lukov and Frazier after this timeout right here on TSN.
Wrangler jeans have always been worn by cowboys. But nowadays, even horses wear them. Wrangler. Real, comfortable jeans.
Wrangler, the perfect jean for your 10-year-old son. And your 10-year-old husband. Wrangler, real, comfortable jeans.
To restore lost performance to your car's engine, announcing Perk, the only fuel conditioner in pill form. No more fuss, no more mess, no more wasted time. Just pop it out, pump it in, and perk it up. Perk gets rid of performance-robbing deposits in your fuel system. It eliminates those carbon residues that clog your injectors and block your intake valves and combustion chambers. Perk's cleaning action restores lost performance and efficiency to your vehicle. Perk, it's like a tune-up in a pill. Perk works.
Welcome back. Eric Lukov versus Richard Frazier here. Lukov weighing in today at 175. Frazier moves down 178. Round number 8 of a scheduled 10, and once again, you gave that to Mr. Frazier, Mr. Brunt.
He looks very, very comfortable to me. Like a lot of Eric Lukov fights, sometimes you feel like you're seeing one round run over and over again. He does not seem to be able to change up in the middle of a fight.
We have it 6 rounds to 1 for Frazier, and round 1 was a flip of a coin.
That was, I reluctantly gave that to Lukov. I thought that was an even round. I didn't think either of them did much, but it's very hard to make a case that Lukov's won any of the rounds since, just because you have to win the rounds. You have to go out and take them, and I don't think he's done anything.
The corner has to realize it. The fighter has to realize it. But Eric Lukov is way behind in this fight right now, and he's still not looking very busy.
Well, I think that's just the way he fights. I think this is Eric Lukov. You're seeing it, and it's.
But at some point, you've got to have that desperation in there because there are only 3 rounds left here. We are in round 8 of 10. He hasn't shown anything so far.
You're right, Mike, except that, I remember watching him fight Fabrice Diazzo for a world title when he had a lot on the line, when he was way behind, and I wasn't that desperation there even in the last few rounds.
Luca does try to throw a combination. He worked the left and then the right, trying to get a little bit more busy, but Richard Frazier very content to stick on the outside, and if he does that for the remaining, let's say, 7 minutes of this fight, he's going to walk away with the victory. Minute and a half remaining in round number 8.
Well, Luca can't afford to wait. He's just waiting and waiting and waiting. And he's losing all of these exchanges.
Let's give it to Frazier. He's fighting textbook. Exactly what he has to do to beat a fighter of Lucas' style. You say style makes the matchup. Right now, this is a very, very good matchup for Richard Frazier.
Well, I'll tell you, it's probably not the stage in Eric Lucas' career where he should be seeing a southpaw for the first time. I think there's a little more too much at stake right now for him for this to be happening.
Tried the combination again, nothing worked. He tried the roundhouse left, blocked by Frazier. Tried the right, missed. And again, we'll see how much that has to do with the fact that Frazier's a left-hander. And as you mentioned, very difficult to fight a southpaw for the first time in your pro career.
Well, I think that right now that is the story of this fight. That Eric Lucas is just baffled by fighting a southpaw. You know, Frazier isn't spectacular by any means, but I think that style difference is everything in this fight.
Less than 30 seconds now remaining in 8. As finally we get some sort of decent punch by Luca. Frazier just says, okay, whatever. Didn't hurt.
He got a right hand in there. Frazier was kind of falling away from it when it landed, so I don't think there's much on it.
5 seconds remaining here in round number 8. Rather non-eventful round once again, but that's all Richard Frazier needs if he's going to win this fight. As Eric Lucas walks back to his corner, we will go now to the other dressing room as we've seen Billy Irwin getting ready in his room. David Teta is getting ready to defend that. That is the Commonwealth belt for the lightweight division. Teta beat Billy Schwer of England to do it in a controversial fight, but there is Little Tyson, David Teta, 5'4".
I'm really looking forward to seeing David Teta in action. The only fight virtually anyone has seen in Europe or here was the fight with Billy Schwer, in which he fought a terrific fight. It was a controversial stoppage, but still certainly, I think, won the fight. Other than that, he's fought in Africa predominantly. I don't think when he went to England, he had no reputation. He shocked the heck out of Mickey Duff, who is Billy Schwer's promoter.
And ironically is now the promoter of David Teta.
Well, that's how.
Isn't that funny how that works?
That is how it works, yes, the promotional options thing.
They're ready. David Teta getting ready to defend his Commonwealth belt. He is ranked in the top 12 by all 3 major boxing governing bodies. Who did you give round 8 to, Stephen?
I'm going to give that round to Eric Lucas just because I think he finally landed a punch and closed the distance a bit and was a little more in the fight, so I'm going to give it to him on that basis.
You know, that doesn't sound that good. I'm giving him the round because he finally landed a punch. We expected this fight to go the distance, but I honestly have to admit I'm very disappointed. I've seen Lucas fight before. I saw you and Brendan Connor here on TSN call the Tiazzo fight. It was like watching paint dry, but I expected Lucas maybe to have learned something in the last 2 fights. You've seen 3 of the last 4. Now 4 of the last 5. Where does this rank in some of his other appearances?
Well,
it's a good right hand by Frazier.
Again, unfortunately, in a lot of ways, it's very typical. And I expected more tonight. I thought coming off the Roy Jones fight, where in fact, because expectations were so low about what he would do, he got a lot of good press from that fight, good response. I really thought he'd rise to the occasion tonight, and I see essentially the same thing that I've always seen with Eric Lucas. Now you can sense the desperation in him. I think he's trying harder now, but I just don't think he has it to solve Frazier's style. And Frazier's up on his toes boxing. I think he knows he's way ahead in this fight. I think he's going to be content to box his way in.
You would think the key to boxing a 37-year-old fighter would be try to tire him out, but Frazier's got great legs right now. He's winning this fight easily. You've given 2 rounds to Lucas, and it's almost been, okay, what the heck, let's give him a couple of rounds.
Well,
not look good tonight.
If you let a guy stand in the middle of the ring and just throw 1-2s all night, a lot of people, even if you're 37 years old, you can hang in.
37's young in boxing now, isn't it? What's Roberto Duran, 86 now?
You know, Roberto Duran was supposed to fight Eric Lucas at one point, a fight that didn't come off. It would have been a very interesting fight.
Hands of stone, I guess maybe feet of stone, because Eric Lucas is not moving very much here.
Well, I'll tell you something. If the Roberto Duran who fought Hector Camacho was fighting this Eric Lucas, I think I'd bet the house on Duran.
Yeah. And as old as Roberto Duran is, and people, look at boxing and say, what are old guys guys like this still fighting, he is still very entertaining to watch.
He is the exception to the rule in many, many ways. But I would always pay to watch a Roberto Duran fight. Good shot by Frazier on the inside. He's having a very good round.
Having a very good fight. Where's the Leo Cahill act of God theory at this point? It may take an act of God for Eric Luka to win this fight. Or at least the landing of a punch.
Well, if you look at Eric Luka's career record, acts of God have been pretty few and far between on his ledger.
Dozen seconds remaining here in round number 9. It's a scheduled 10. It's going to go the distance, and we'll come back with the concluding round after this timeout right here on TSN.
What do you call a band that sold millions of albums, toured the world?
The Beatles Anthology.
We are back. It is round 10 of a scheduled 10. Who did you give round 9 to, Stephen?
I thought a very good round for Richard Frazier, and a typically good round for Richard Frazier in this fight. I think he's coasting home now, unless I'm sadly mistaken.
You have it 7 rounds to 2 right now for Frazier, the visitor from New York. A policeman from New York, New York. In his 16th professional fight, he only has 4 knockouts. Lukov's 19-3-2 heading in with 5 knockouts. We expected it to go the distance, and it looks like it will. Lukov from Montreal, Quebec. Yvon Michel, his manager, hasn't shown much tonight. Very disappointing effort from the Montreal.
Got close with the right hand there, but Frazier was sliding away, didn't really take it.
Frazier could go for a jog right now and still win this fight.
Doesn't he look comfortable though, the way he's up on his toes boxing, doing anything he wants to do?
Barely working up a sweat. There is water there, but that's more or less the guys in the corner closing him down between rounds. Very, very comfortable. Way up in the balls of his feet, snapping off that right jab still. Although Lukov there was able to land his best punch of the fight with a right hand.
I think that was his best punch of the fight. A pretty decent right hand, side of the head.
Frazier is 37, a late start to his career, looking great here. Way up on his feet. Snap, no problem.
And number 9 in the world going at this fight. He's come another win here. As unlikely as it seems, he might get himself a title shot. He's the kind of guy that sometimes does get one, although, to be honest, a lot of people don't want to fight southpaws. So that's the one thing that might hold him back.
You can teach a lot of things in boxing. You can't teach speed. And Richard Frazier, certainly the speedier of the 2 opponents here tonight, throws a nice right hand that connected with Lukov. There's a right hand. Way too late in this fight. Frazier not hurt at all. Even if he was able to unload with a bomb, it would take an absolute bullseye. And he hasn't been able to hit him square all night. And he's really been having trouble with the left-handed fighter. No doubt about that whatsoever. Frazier, the better boxer on this evening, and will win this fight easily.
And this is right here. This is as aggressive as Eric Lukov gets. You're seeing Eric Lukov bombs away. That's his top gear right here.
It is the 10th round of 10, and it will go the distance as we get ready for the Billy Irwin fight against David Teta for the Commonwealth Championship. A long road to get here. 2 undefeated fighters, 2 men who can throw bombs who will have that fight for you after we wrap up with the ring festivities. We'll stick around. We'll give you the decision at the end of this round. And Darren Decision will speak with the winner. And unless something really bizarre has happened, Richard Frazier will be the man that Darren Decision speaks to momentarily. Well, very, 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 very good effort here from Richard Frazier.
I think if you look at Eric Lukov's face, he knows who won the fight as well.
I assume you're giving the last round to Lukov.
I'll give it to him for a couple of right hands he landed, but I guess
best punch of the fight. And there's the dressing room. Billy the Kid Irwin getting ready for the main event. In front of his, Lee Chisholm, the tall man in the background, getting ready. They'll bring out the kid in the biggest fight of his career. He represented this country so admirably as an amateur and is now doing likewise as a professional. A very serious Billy Irwin, 19-0 with 13 knockouts. David Tyson Teta from Ghana. What a country that is for boxing. Ike Quarty, who won his title defense last week. He is the WBA welterweight champion. The junior lightweight champion of the world is Zuma Nelson, one of my favorites. I love the professor. He's the WBC junior lightweight champ, and the WBA bantamweight champ is Nana Kanadu. And 3 champions of the world. David Teta would like that chance as well.
To join, that's a pretty elite group of fighters. Like, a lot of people are looking forward to seeing Ike Quarty and Felix Trinidad get it on one of these days.
Big hand for Grapes. Don Cherry, a big fan, a big supporter of Billy the Kid Irwin. Usually sits ringside for the kids' fights. And this is a big one for the native of Niagara Falls. How long do you think this is going to go as Billy Irwin gets ready with his brother as they do a little sparring and a little hand slapping down below? Is he ready?
That's dangerous to try and call something like that. Let's just say I don't think this is going to go. I don't think anybody thinks it's going to go to the judges.
Let's look at it this way. What's the key for Irwin? We've seen tape of Teta. We are getting ready for the decision here, and Dan Carter, as our ring announcer, will join him momentarily as Fern Kretschan hands him the car. Sorry, not Fern Kretschan, but David Dunbar hands him the car. The 2 boxers go to the middle of the ring. But what is the game plan here for Irwin tonight?
The key for Irwin, I think, is he's going to be fighting a guy who's unconventional, who's a little wild. He's got to be instinctive rather than as technical as he normally is in the way he counterpunches. He's a very technical counterpuncher. He's not going to be able to wait.
Dan Carter's a ring announcer.
We have our decision. Judge Fern Kretschan scores at 98-94 Frazier. Judge Frank Bullard scores at 96-94 Luca.
Oh, jeez.
Judge Shalolo scores at 96-94. Luca, split decision for Luca.
Oh, my.
That's unbelievable.
Oh, my. Oh, my. Well, Richard Frazier's a cop, and he should make an arrest right there because he just got robbed.
That's a terrible decision. Like, there are close decisions, but there's no way. That was not a close fight.
Let's go to Darren Dutition right now in the ring with our winner, Eric Luca.
Thanks very much, Mike Hogan. The crowd booed when the decision was announced. They obviously thought that Rick Frazier had won this fight. Yvonne, the way you saw it, was a split for your man?
No, I really think that Eric won because he was the one who was forcing the action throughout the fight. He was after him. Frazier was content to counter, to move around. He was not willing to trade, to exchange. So I think Eric deserved the decision.
Eric, it looked like you had a real tough time fighting with this left style, with the southpaw style.
C'était difficile avec capacité gaucher.
Oui, parce qu'on ne s'entendait pas, le combat était prévu à une journée d'intervalle, que c'était dur de se préparer pour ça, mais comme on a dit, Ryan, c'est qu'on s'entendait de se sauver tout le long, c'était plus difficile.
It's the first time ever that he fight a southpaw in the pro rank, and we knew only at the last moment, the day before the fight, that we were going to fight him. And don't forget, this guy is ranked as a light heavyweight, number 9 in the world, so it was a fine performance from Eric.
Thanks very much, Yvonne Michelle. Congratulations, Eric. A controversial decision here as Eric Luca wins in a split. We'll take a short break. There's still more boxing to come here on TSN.
It can be said that coming home has a lot of things going for it. There's the familiar faces of the home team itself, the people who know your Honda inside and out. Right now, to make coming home that much sweeter, a Civic or Accord replacement muffler is just $123, completely installed. So why open your hood to strangers? Bring it home to Honda.
Challenge challenge? This is it. If you're looking for a sure thing, take the High Endurance Challenge from Old Spice. This deodorant evaporates less quickly than the leading stick. It also lasts longer, protects better. So try High Endurance. It's a sure thing. And now you got proof. I know I do.
Today, I met a madman. Felt a crazed fire in his eyes. Felt cold fear in my own. And as he chased me up and down his mountain, our eyes met. Fear, face to face with its enemy, listens as the madman shouts.
If you're looking for the best deodorant, try High Endurance from Old Spice. Because now you've got proof. And a guarantee.
Billy the Kid Irwin is the challenger. David Little Tyson Teta is the champ. Both gentlemen with punching power. We expect it to be a very ferocious match. As you see Billy getting a little work right now with his trainer Patrick McNaughton. Irwin has to win this fight. In all probability, the winner of tonight's match will ultimately move on and get a world title shot. That is what is on stake tonight. They don't expect it to go 4, 5, 6 rounds, somewhere in there. That's the distance. Both guys like to go out there and trade the leather. Billy Irwin, generally quite a reserved guy, not too emotional, laid back, easy going. But going into this fight, let me tell you something, his demeanor has changed. He's taking a very, very dramatic approach to this fight, and well, he should. He knows what's the payoff and what's around the corner for Billy Irwin. As we take a look at some of his highlights, he does have punching power. 19 professional fights so far. He's got 13 victories. Let's go to the ring announcer, Dan.